Welcome to Midcard Maniacs, I'm Jay, and today I'll be talking about Abadon the Monster, the living dead girl herself, and why I think she would be a great addition to the AEW women's roster. Before we get into things, I do want to address that I understand that this is a young company, there's a lot of work to be done as far as building up storylines and everything, so I completely understand that. And I don't imagine they're going to be hiring too many other wrestlers, especially during a pandemic, but I definitely want to talk about Abadon herself. She made a massive impact when she debuted against Shida, and this was a completely different match than we've really seen before in AEW. First of all, you can't deny that Abadon brings something absolutely unique. From her entrance, like she crawls kind of to the ring, her look, she's got contacts, she's got blood coming out of her mouth, she's got stuff on her teeth, she's got like this white pale face, and she just looks disheveled as all hell. And this is something that I think that AEW is currently lacking. Obviously, this was a direction that I think the Nightmare Collective would have gone at some point. You can kind of see elements in Luther, his look where he kind of goes crazy. He's got the third eye in his middle of his forehead. And at first that's how we thought that the Dark Order might play out, which that has drastically changed, which is fine with me. But I do think that Abadon would be so great for AEW. Simply because we don't have that paranormal or supernatural aspect yet. And I think that it's bound to happen. It's always fun. It doesn't need to be overdone, but I think that is something that is lacking in AEW currently. The promotions like Impact does really well. I mean, if you even look at Su Yung and her and Ali and that little feud with Rosemary and like the whole undead bridesmaids situation, that was really fun. And I think one of the big points of contention for people when it comes to like the supernatural stuff in wrestling is the fact that it needs to be done extremely well. It needs to be carefully crafted. Otherwise, it kind of ruins a lot of product. However, you can segment that kind of stuff to a different side. If you look at Su Yung and her character and everything, she usually has very focused opponents. There's very specific storylines for her. And the same is true with Rosemary, and it's managed very well. The same can be said when we're talking about WWE. Of course, they've always had some kind of paranormal characters. Undertaker, obviously, Boogeyman, but most recently, the fan favorite, obviously, is The Fiend. The Fiend has his own unique character that is doing significantly well without taking away from the serious storylines, kind of. I know that's I can't even keep a straight face saying there's serious storylines happening in WWE, but that's a different topic. Talking about AEW, I know that that's what people would be kind of against, is bringing a character like Abadon into the fold, simply because she's going to be out of place. And that's exactly why I think she would do really well. She's so unique. If you look at some of her matches from Rocky Mountain Pro Wrestling, where it seems like she wrestles the most, she seems extremely well-rounded, but it's also the kind of character that would need somebody to take her under their wing and be the mouthpiece, because I don't think that she should necessarily talk, and she's almost supernatural. Unless she really nails it, it would come off weird. So we would need to kind of build out like a darker stable, and I don't think Dark Order is the one for her, but it would have to be something a little bit different. Another reason I think she would be important is the fact that there's not a lot of like character development currently in AEW. Obviously this takes years and years to kind of build upon, and I completely understand that. However, they don't really lean hard enough in certain directions quite yet. We can see some changes with the Dark Order, with Britt Baker's heel turn, which is fantastic. There are ways that they are doing it, even Inner Circle going from being, you know, these big aggressors to almost being a playful comedy act, which everybody is totally on board with, and I love that. We also have Matt Hardy now. They're playing with him changing characters, and you know that Hardy's going to bring a different level to AEW. I mean, they did the teleport thing with him, so they've kind of touched on this aspect, but the stories that she can be involved in could really go in a different direction, and something that I think Matt Hardy would do really well at creating. He's a very creative person, and if you put him in charge of, you know, getting Abadon a little stable together or building out like the storylines with her, that would be great. Since there isn't a women's tag or a mid-card title, everyone's always fighting for the same championship, and anything other than that is basically just a one-off beef that doesn't go anywhere, and this is where we're lacking the character development. Abadon basically has a built-in character already. The ring stories are written because she's terrifying. If you look at any post that talks about AEW and new signings, Abadon is listed on Twitter, on Reddit, every comment section and live chat that I've seen so far on YouTube when it talks about the women's division or even just new AEW signees mention Abadon. It's very evident to me that people love her because they don't understand her. They love her look. They love the idea of having this supernatural force come in. And I personally love it. I mean, I'm a horror fan already, so I usually gravitate to people like Havoc or Darby Allin and Abadon. Things that I enjoy about Jimmy Havoc, for example, is the fact that he has a unique style in the ring. He's doing things that people don't necessarily want to see. You've seen him use wrenches and different foreign objects and joint manipulation and just moves that not everyone is doing. And then if you look at Abadon, she's doing something very similar. If you look at the match with Sheeta, you know, she's biting, she's being aggressive. We're seeing blood, and everybody loves blood in wrestling. It's cool. Whether it's her own blood and just it's coming out of her mouth before she even gets to the ring. And for TV's sake, it doesn't necessarily have to be blood. I mean, it can be any color, but it still looks disgusting and it gets the point across. Her style and moveset are just inherently unique because of her character. She can afford to do weirder things in the ring that bring a new dynamic to either Dark or Dynamite or whatever the third show happens to be. And it would really just change things up in general, to be honest. Not to mention that the merch opportunities write themselves. People like creepy looking shit. That's why Butcher and Blade and Bunny were an immediate hit, because they resonated with horror fans, and there's a lot of crossover between horror fans and wrestling. So I see a ton of potential with Abadon. I think she's fantastic. I'm going to definitely follow her career regardless of where she ends up going. If AEW decides to pick up the phone and call her back, that would be fantastic. Even if they want to test the waters. Obviously right now we understand that, you know, flying is a concern. So this could be a year from now, 2 years from now. I just wanted to talk about this because I know that she has such a great potential to move the division forward as a whole. Obviously not by herself, but I think there's a lot of ways that she can make a massive impact to just starting to get some character development going for the women's division in general. What do you guys think? Are you a fan of Abadon the Monster? What do you feel about paranormal or supernatural wrestling in general and those storylines? Are you a fan of Su Yung and Rosemary? Let me know in the comments. Like this video, and if you have any suggestions for videos you want to see me do in the future, definitely let me know. And if this is your first time here, make sure you subscribe to the channel to stay up to date with everything Midcard Maniacs. Yeah.